Hi, everyone. Welcome to the IO Edge, where industrial organizational psychology meets the fast-paced world of modern HR. I'm your host, Dr. Jacqueline Minor. This podcast is dedicated to HR professionals, managers, and IO psychologists looking to lead with insight, strategy, and confidence. Whether you're an HR professional looking to level up or an IO psychology grad wondering where you fit in the business world, this podcast gives you the tools and insight to lead with purpose. On today's podcast, we will discuss AI and human resources, why ethics matter more than ever. And I'll share how you can dive deeper into this critical topic through an upcoming webinar that can earn you recertification credit. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been told by a vendor that their AI tool is completely unbiased or that it removes human bias from hiring? If you have, I want you to know something. That's a red flag, not a selling point. Here's why. AI doesn't remove bias. It can actually scale bias faster and more efficiently than humans ever could. I know that sounds alarming, and honestly, it should be, because right now, as you're listening to this, HR departments across the country are implementing AI tools for resume screening, performance predictions, employee monitoring, and more, often without truly understanding the ethical implications. And here's the thing that keeps me up at night. When that AI makes a biased decision, when it screens out qualified candidates because of age, or when it creates a hostile surveillance culture that destroys employee trust, you, the HR professional, are responsible, not the vendor, not the IT department, you. That's what we're going to unpack today. And if this topic resonates with you, and I think it will, I'm going to tell you how you can go even deeper with a comprehensive webinar I'm hosting on January 22nd that will earn you HRCI and SHRM recertification credit. Let's start with the good news. Because AI can be incredibly useful in HR, the promise is compelling. Faster resume screening that saves you hours of manual review, predictive analytics that identify flight risks before employees leave, performance insights that can help you develop your workforce strategically, chatbots that answer employee questions 24/7, objective data to replace gut feeling hiring decisions. And in an ideal world, that's exactly what you'd get. Efficiency without sacrifice, innovation without harm. But here's what I've learned in my 21 years of HR experience, including my work in employee relations for a healthcare provider with over 40,000 employees. The gap between the promise and the reality can be enormous when ethics aren't centered from the start. Through my research and practice, I've identified 5 areas where AI creates the most significant ethical challenges for HR professionals. I call these the ethical risk hotspots. And I guarantee you're either dealing with one of these right now or will be soon. So ethical hotspot number 1, screening and ranking tools. So this is the most common use of AI in HR, resume screening and candidate ranking. The promise? Faster screening, better matches, less bias. The reality, if the AI is trained on your historical hiring data and your historical hiring was biased, even unintentionally, the AI learns that bias and applies it at scale. Let me give you a real example. Amazon built an AI recruiting tool trained on 10 years of their hiring data. Sounds logical, right? Use your best historical hires to identify future great hires. The problem, those 10 years of hires were predominantly male, especially in technical roles. So the AI learned to penalize resumes that mentioned women's chess club or women's college. It literally downgraded candidates because the word women appeared on their resume. Amazon scrapped the tool, but how many organizations are using similar tools right now without even knowing they have this problem? Hotspot number 2, AI-powered assessments. This is where things get even more ethically murky. Some AI tools analyze video interviews, looking at your facial expressions, tone of voice, word choice, even how often you make eye contact to assess personality, culture fit, or job performance potential. I need you to think about that for a second. An algorithm is making judgments about a person's character and capability based on facial movements. The ethical problems are stacking up. Validity. Does facial expression actually predict job performance? Where's the evidence? disability accommodation. What about candidates on the autism spectrum? Candidates with speech impediments? Candidates with visual impairments? These tools may systematically disadvantage them, which is an ADA violation. Cultural bias. What's considered professional body language or tone in one culture may be completely different in another. Transparency. Most candidates have no idea their personality is being assessed by AI. If you can't validate that a tool actually predicts job success and you can't ensure it doesn't discriminate, don't use it, period. Hotspot number 3, performance and potential analytics. Here's a scenario. Your organization wants to use AI to predict which employees are high potential for leadership development. Sounds smart, right? Data-driven succession planning. But ask yourself, what data is the AI learning from? Is it learning from your historical performance reviews and those reviews have been biased against women or people of color? Which research shows they often are. Then your AI will learn that bias. It will predict that men and white employees are higher potential, not because they actually are, but because that's the pattern in your historical data. We call this garbage in, garbage out. And worse, it creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. If the AI flags certain employees as low potential, managers give them fewer development opportunities, ensuring they never reach their potential. Hotspot number 4, employee monitoring. This is where organizations often cross the line from useful analytics to unethical surveillance. Some AI tools monitor employee emails, Slack messages, keystrokes, mouse movements, screen time, websites visited, even physical location through batch wipes. I once worked with an organization that used AI to analyze employee emails from flight risk sentiment. They wanted to predict who was thinking about leaving based on the tone of their communication. When employees found out, and they did find out, this was destroyed, people started self-censoring. Collaboration dropped and innovation suffered. The short-term efficiency gain cost them long-term organizational health. Hotspot number 5, chatbots and automation in employee relations. Here's my final hotspot, and it's one I feel particularly strongly about as an employee relations consultant. Chatbots can be great for simple factual questions. How many vacation days do I have? What's the remote work policy? But I've seen organizations use AI chatbots for complex, sensitive employee relation issues, harassment complaints, disability accommodations, or grievances. Let me be clear. An AI cannot appropriately handle, I'm being sexually harassed by my manager. These situations require human judgment, empathy, legal expertise, and cultural competence. And when an AI chatbot gives incorrect advice, and they do, who's accountable? The employee who followed the bad advice? You for deploying the chatbot? This is an accountability nightmare. I know I've just given you a lot of heavy information, but I want you to understand. These aren't theoretical concerns. These are happening in real organizations to real employees right now. And as HR professionals, it's our responsibility to ensure that when we use AI, we use it ethically. Which brings me to the big myth I need to bust before we move forward. The biggest myth about AI. Here's what vendors love to tell you. Our AI removes bias because it doesn't see race or gender. This sounds reassuring. It's also misleading. Here's the truth. AI doesn't need to see race or gender to produce biased outcomes. If it's trained on biased historical data, it will learn bias through proxies. Going back to the Amazon example, the AI didn't directly use gender, but it learned from 10 years of male-dominated hiring. So anything correlated with being female, like attending a women's college or being part of a women's professional organization, became a negative signal to the algorithm. The AI amplified existing bias and applied it consistently to every single resume. Bias at scale. So when a vendor tells you their AI is completely unbiased, that's your signal to ask harder questions. No AI is completely unbiased. The question is, how are you testing for bias? And what are you doing to mitigate it? Your professional responsibility. You can't hide behind AI. I've heard HR professionals say things like, the vendor said it was unbiased, so we trusted it. The AI made that decision, not me. It's just what the algorithm recommended. None of these statements absolve you of professional responsibility. If you're certified through HRCI or SHRM, you're bound by a code of ethics. And that code doesn't have an exception clause that says, unless you're using AI. Let me read you a key principle from the HRCI Ethical and Professional Responsibilities. As HR professionals, we are responsible for adding value to the organizations we serve. We accept professional responsibility for our individual decisions and actions and contributing to the ethical success of those organizations. Notice it doesn't say except when using vendor tools or unless the AI made the recommendation. You own the outcome. You must be able to defend the decision. You are responsible for fairness. This isn't about being anti-technology. I use AI tools in my work. This is about maintaining professional standards while using technology. Now I want to acknowledge something real. You're going to face pressure that pushes you away from ethical decision making. I call these the ethical pressure points. Speed. We need to hire fast. Just use the AI. Cost. This AI saves us 40% on recruiting costs. Manager demands. The VP wants this implementation by Q1. Status quo. We've always done it this way. Now with AI. These pressures are real. I feel them in my own work. You feel them in yours. But here's what I've learned. Your professional duty to ethics doesn't disappear because someone is pressuring you to move faster or cut costs. In fact, that's exactly when ethical leadership matters most. So the question isn't whether you'll face these pressures. It's how you'll respond to them while maintaining your professional integrity. I know some of you are thinking, this is overwhelming. How do I actually navigate this? That's exactly why I developed a practical framework that you can use every single time you face an AI ethics decision. And that's what I want to give you a preview of right now. I developed a framework specifically for ethical AI decisions in HR. I call it the FAIRR Framework, FAIRR. It stands for F, frame the ethical question. A, assess against professional standards. I, investigate the facts. R, reason through alternatives. And R, resolve and document. Let me walk you through each step briefly, and then I'll tell you how you can get the complete framework with case studies and application tools. So F, frame the ethical question. The first step is framing the ethical question clearly. This isn't about technical details. It's about the ethical choice you're facing. Ask yourself, what specific decision am I facing? Who will be affected by this decision? What values or duties are in tension? What makes this an ethical question, not just a practical one? So for example, instead of asking, should we buy this AI tool? You might frame it as, should we implement an AI tool that predicts employee flight risk when employees don't know they're being scored? See the difference? The second question makes the ethical tension explicit. A, assess against professional standards. Step 2 is connecting the decision to your professional responsibilities. Ask yourself, which HRCI code of ethics principles are implicated? Could protected classes be a disadvantage? Race, gender, age, or disability? Could people with non-traditional backgrounds be excluded? What are my professional duties in this situation? This step prevents you from making decisions based only on, is it legal? Legal compliance is the floor, not the ceiling. Your professional standard is higher than that. I, investigate the facts. Step 3, don't make ethical decisions based on vendor marketing or assumptions. Get real information. Critical questions to ask. How was the AI trained? What data was used? Has it been tested for bias? By whom? What were the results? How accurate is it? What's the error rate? Can it be explained? Can I tell employees how it works? What do diverse stakeholders think? IT, legal, employees. If you can't get answers to these questions from a vendor, that tells you everything you need to know. No vendor transparency equals no ethical use. R, reason through alternatives. Step 4, you always have options. Don't fall into binary thinking. Your alternatives typically include use the AI as proposed, use it with modification or safeguards. Don't use it. Pursue an alternative approach. Delay the decision pending more information. For each alternative, ask, which professional duties does this honor or violate? Who benefits? Who might be harmed? Can I explain and defend this choice? What safeguards could reduce ethical risk? This is where your professional judgment really comes into play. R, resolve and document. The final step, make your decision based on ethics, not just convenience or pressure, then document it. So here's some action steps. Decide based on your ethical reasoning. Document your process, the ethical question, standards assessed, facts investigated, alternatives considered, and your decision rationale. Communicate transparently with stakeholders. Set monitoring dates to track outcomes. Document serves two purposes. It protects you by demonstrating professional rigor, and it ensures accountability. Ethics isn't just the decision, it's decision plus documentation plus ongoing monitoring. Now, I've just given you the framework at a high level, but applying it takes practice. You need to work through real scenarios, see examples, and develop your ethical reasoning muscle. And that's exactly what we're going to do in the comprehensive webinar I'm hosting on January 22nd. The webinar, AI and Human Resources, Ethical Standards for Today's Workplace. It's being hosted on January 22nd, 2026 at 12 p.m. Central Time. And this is a 60-minute live webinar where I'll be joined by Nikki Epps Baham, owner of NEB Strategy Co., who is a business management and workforce development professional with over 20 years of experience spanning organizational strategy, education, and talent development across federal, state, and private sectors. Together, we're going to give you everything you need to use AI ethically and confidently in your HR practice. Here's what you'll get in the webinar. Deep dive into the FAIRR Framework. We'll work through the complete framework with detailed case studies. You'll practice applying FAIRR to scenarios you're likely to face, like discovering age bias in your AI screening tool, handling managers who want to act on AI flight risk predictions, evaluating vendors who claim their tools are completely unbiased. So there's an interactive scenario lab. This isn't a passive lecture. We'll use polls, chat decisions, and real-time analysis so you're actively engaging with the material. It's also a comprehensive resource guide. So every participant receives a 10-part resource guide that includes the FAIRR Framework one-pager. It's a printable checklist you can keep at your desk. There's a 30-day micro-action plan, and this is a step-by-step guidance to apply what you learned immediately. There's also the AI vendor evaluation checklist, which is essential questions to ask before purchasing any AI tool. And then HRCI Code of Ethics AI application guide. So connects each code principle to AI scenarios. The case study library. So there are 4 detailed scenarios with complete ethical analysis. There's a sample communication template. So ready to use emails and policies for transparency with employees. There's a glossary of AI terms for HR. So there's no more confusion about algorithms, machine learning, or bias audits. There is a monthly AI monitoring template, which tracks adverse impact and ensures ongoing fairness. And we also have a resource list. This is curated articles, podcasts, books, and tools to deepen your expertise. And then there's the implementation template. So this is a sample AI governance, policies, and incident response plan. So this resource guide alone is worth the registration. It's everything you need to vet AI tools, implement them ethically, and monitor them for fairness. So here's something important. This webinar qualifies for 1 HRCI or SHRM recertification credit. If you're maintaining your PHR, SPHR, SHRM CP, or SHRM SCP, this training counts towards your qualified continuing education. And unlike generic ethics courses, this is specifically designed for the AI challenges you're facing right now. You'll leave the webinar able to explain how professional HR ethics apply when AI influences employment decisions, identify key ethical principles and risks in AI implementation, apply the FAIRR framework to assess any AI tool or practice, use an ethical decision-making checklist when evaluating vendors. Plus, you'll have the confidence to push back when vendors make misleading claims or when leadership pressures you to implement something that doesn't pass the ethics test. So let me tell you more about the resource guide because this is truly comprehensive. The AI vendor evaluation checklist includes exact questions you need to ask about bias testing and audit results, training data sources and diversity, transparency and explainability, privacy and data protection, legal compliance and liability protections, and ongoing monitoring and support. I've organized these questions by category with specific red flags to watch for. So for example, if a vendor says, our AI is completely unbiased, or it's proprietary, we can't explain how it works, those are immediate red flags. The case study library gives you 4 detailed scenarios. Each one walks through the complete FAIRR analysis so you can see ethical reasoning in action. The personality predictor. Should you use AI that assesses cultural fit from video interviews? The silent screener. What do you do when you discover your AI has been auto-rejecting 60% of candidates without transparency? The retention algorithm. How do you handle managers who want to exclude employees based on flight risk scores? The bias blind spot. Your AI produces significant demographic disparities, but it's legal. Now what? Each scenario includes the ethical tensions, HRCI code principles implicated, critical investigation questions, multiple alternatives with pros and cons, recommended solutions with documentation guidance. You can use these for self-study, team discussions, or manager training. 30-day micro action plan is particularly powerful because it turns knowledge into practice. Week 1 identifies your AI landscape. What tools are you using or considering? Week 2, apply FAIRR to one AI decision or tool. Week 3, implement safeguards or changes based on your analysis. And week 4, document and monitor outcomes. This isn't theory. It's a practical roadmap for embedding ethical AI practices in your organization starting this month. Registration is now open. You can register via the Eventbrite website and look for Ethics AI in Human Resources.eventbrite.com. The investment is $97 and includes a live 60-minute webinar with Q&A, the complete 10-part resource guide, recording access for 30 days, and a certificate of completion for 1 recertification credit. I'm implementing registration to ensure the webinar stays interactive and everyone can participate in the discussions. So if you're interested, don't wait. Go to ethicsainhumanresources.eventbrite.com and secure your spot. Here's what I want you to take away from today's podcast. AI is not going away. It's going to become more prevalent in HR, not less. But AI is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used ethically or unethically. It can advance fairness or undermine it. It can build trust or destroy it. The difference is you, your professional judgment, your ethical courage, your commitment to doing what's right, even when it's harder or slower or less profitable. You are the guardrail between AI and your employees. You are the advocate for fairness when algorithms would perpetrate bias. You are the voice for transparency when vendors want to hide behind proprietary black boxes. That's the responsibility we carry as HR professionals. And it's a responsibility I take seriously, which is why I created this webinar and resource guide. If this episode resonates with you, I invite you to go deeper. Join me on January 22nd. Let's build your ethical AI expertise today. Register at ethicsainhumanresources.eventbrite.com. And if you found this episode valuable, please share it with your HR colleagues. We need more professionals thinking critically about AI ethics, not fewer. Thank you for tuning in to this podcast. Be sure to subscribe to stay connected to the conversation at the intersection of psychology, business, and human resources. I'm Dr. Jacqueline Minor. I'll see you soon.